Hi there, this is Justin Krane, certified financial planner professional and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. So how can you really live? How? By uniting your business money, your personal money with your life and your business. Word up.
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
Hey everyone, welcome to Money You Got This. This show is brought to you by Justin Krane. Actually, it's brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions, and I'm Justin Krane. I guess we're the same person. I offer investment management services, and we do financial planning for business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives. I'm also the author of the book, Money You Got This. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. Today's guest is Andy Garcia. Wait a minute. No, it's not Andy Garcia. It's Matthew Khalili, founder and CEO of Plan Writers. He is a live stunt double for Andy Garcia. You probably didn't know that was coming. What does Plan Writers do? They help startups and entrepreneurs write business plans, create pitch decks, and do grant requests to raise money. Matt is on fire. He is a self-confessed foodie. He loves food. He loves grilling steaks. The guy's very fashionable. I've seen him bust out some very, very cool outfits. And he says he spends too much money on eating out. I'm feeling like I'm a game show host introducing you. Matt, welcome to Money You Got This.
Thanks for having me, Justin, and appreciate the introduction.
Cool. So Plan Writers, right? Pitch decks, grant requests, business plans. I mean, you can't get started without some sort of plan. So I want to go right into the first thing. What did you have for breakfast today?
I intermittent fast so I can have an awesome lunch. And I went surf and turf on my lunch, a little grilled steak with some shrimp and coconut rice, Thai dressing. Oh man, I am so satiated. It's great.
That's huge.
And
wow.
And I always have to top it off with my matcha water. So
very nice, very nice.
And a little bit of sweetness. So I had a hazelnut crumble for just to wash it down a little bit.
Nice. We should have recorded this podcast at like 6 a.m. with your intermittent fasting. It would have been great. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about startups because I know that that's your sweet spot with Plan Writers. I'm curious, when someone comes to you, they think they know everything, right? They think they got it all planned out. They got the whole thing. They just want you to review it. And then I got to believe that you have that like come to Jesus moment with them. Like, no, you're thinking about it wrong. You might want to think about it like this. So my question is like, what's the biggest mistake that you see startups make in general and then with their business plan?
Well, the first thing I want to say is when you make assumptions, you make an ass out of you and me. And the number one rule in startups is you got to get rid of the assumptions. So assumption number one, you deal with people from all walks of life. And I've been blessed to deal with people that are super humble and really grateful for any knowledge. And then I have people that are just hyper type A people who really don't want to hear anything but their way. They just want to take their way for what it's worth. So it's hard to make those assumptions, but I got to tell you, the most part, we get to see some really exciting stuff. We just see a lot of thirst for learning, especially with our really successful clients. So I hate to make any assumptions and put any preconditions with my clients because we're blessed to see all sorts of people.
All right, so I mean, how many business plans do you guys do a year? Like 4 million or something like that, right?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's 4 million startups a year, but we do we do about 40 to 50 startups a month. So at this pace,
that's huge. That's huge.
Thank you. A little ways from the 4 million, but we're getting there.
I love it. I love it. So, I'm watching Shark Tank. I see these people come on with these valuations and they're like, they got very little sales. It's a pie in the sky earnings and all that kind of stuff. So I see a commonality with entrepreneurs that they're not really real with what's specifically going on. how do you work through someone that's creating a business plan to get them to see the reality of their business and what they need to put in this plan and what they could do to raise the money or achieve what they want without some pie in the sky thought or valuation?
Yeah, great question. So there's a few things I like to coach my clients on. So number one, when we need to build some humility, I ask my clients, do you rather own 100% of nothing, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe be a little realistic and own a real piece of something.
Mm-hmm.
So what I try to advise my clients on, especially when they're trying to raise money, take this as far along as you can, build up your leverage, right? And be real, try to be as realistic as you can, because that first lead investor who's gonna get you to where you need to be, that's really gonna help you get your project to be commercial ready. So if it's the right partner, sometimes it's worth not getting your realistic valuation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of ways to get there. In this day and age, there's a ton of resources, and it's really about who you know. I coach my clients all the time, right? Like sometimes it's really hard to just find a random professional investor to come in your industry. Network, talk to people. Someone who's going to invest in you probably has a mutual connection between you. Ask. There's a golden piece of advice I have. When you're looking for money, ask people for advice. When you want advice, ask people for money. So be a little tactful about it. Maybe the person that you're trying to pitch to and ask for valuation might not be your investor, but he might know someone who you are, who might be the right person, and the person with the right fit might be worth the valuation that you would have to quote unquote settle for.
All right, we gotta slow down because that was really interesting. When you're looking for money, ask people for advice. When you're asking people for advice, ask them for money.
Well, sort of. When you're asking people for advice, they tend to want to give you money more because
Yeah.
you're coachable,
Yep.
and people want to give you things when you're not looking for it.
Yep.
Kind of like dating girls. If you see a really pretty girl you want to go after, sometimes when you're not like too direct and you don't seem
Yeah.
too eager, they're more
Yeah.
interested. Not that different.
Okay.
What's startups and investment?
So you talked a little bit about leverage, right? In raising this money. And you started out in sales, then you worked at an M&A firm, and then you started Plan Writers. So when you started Plan Writers, did you think about leverage and how you could scale right at the beginning?
Well,
Because I think your business is, I mean, it looks amazing, but it also equally looks hard.
yeah, it is hard, and it's not something I recommend for everyone else. But just like any business, you got to work in an area that you love. You got to work in an area that ideally you have skills and knowledge in, and you got to work where you had a competitive advantage. So I had those things. This business is right for me, and you got to play your cards. Sometimes. Go ahead, Justin.
So how did you do that? Like you're working at an M&A firm called White, right?
Yeah, so I worked with a broker dealer called White and Co. I actually did that in parallel with my business here. So prior
Okay.
prior to what I was doing here, we built what's called an IR 500 company, an Internet Retail Top 500 e-commerce company,
Okay.
and basically my suite there was marketing, right? I ran a pretty badass digital ad budget, spending $1 million a month. So
This is Virtual Outfits.
that was one of my startups. This
Yeah.
before Virtual Office, this was a company called PCRush.com. And
Okay.
then I started Virtual Outfits at the same time as Plan Writers. But
That's insane. You just started like 3 things in 5 minutes. I wish I could do that. I am not wired that way, but that's okay because there are people like you who can do that. So hold on a second. You were doing PC Rush and you were doing your internet retail business as well at the same time?
well, Internet Retail was PC Rush, and
Okay.
we started Virtual Outfits. I phased out of the e-commerce company, and I started my consultancy at the same time.
It's amazing. How do you do 2 or 3 strategic initiatives at the same time?
Well, there's different schools of thought, right? Some people believe that, you should diversify your revenue streams. And I
Hmm.
think as a financial planner, that's something you coach with a lot of
Sure.
your clients as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we try to do the same thing. There's pros and cons to it. Some people like to get really deep in a business, right? But there's certain business models that might reach a saturation point, and some businesses are complementary, and some businesses have the right partnerships. That's the great thing with entrepreneurship. There is no rules to the path of success. I like I like to advise my clients at the end of the day, we're all dealt a hand of cards, just like poker. You got to play your cards the best you can, right? That means you're born into certain circles. You've got different life experiences. You've got different skills, right? The goal is how do you align your skills with an industry that there's a market need and growing for, and how do you optimize and maximize your potential?
So how did you do that? Like, let's unpack that a little bit. How did you do that in the internet retail space?
Yeah, sure. So my family, they were computer scientists back in the 80s. So my parents, right?
Hmm.
And in that day, most people were selling products wholesale in mass via catalogs. And the infancy of a shopping cart was in, was made available in the early 90s, right?
Hmm.
So we wanted to figure out a way to see, was it viable to transform a catalog business. At that time, in that category working with, there was a company called Tiger Direct, and they were selling everything from catalogs. Can we transform this into a digital platform?
Hmm.
Uh, do you know how Amazon first started selling its products when it went e-commerce, when it launched its platform?
Catalog first or no?
So interesting enough, they built their platform. They wanted to be a book company, and they didn't advertise online. They actually did all their advertising originally in the newspaper, right? And they built customer habits at that time to, hey, like you can actually
Hmm.
buy and do something online. So we built in order to do that, you have to build your own shopping cart engine. And there was a barrier to entry doing so. So we built one of the first shopping carts back in the day because my mother had a fintech background. She was doing mobile bank. She was basically building some digital banking solutions with various banks. My father was a computer scientist. They had retail backgrounds, and this was a natural fit for us. So that's what
Your
we did.
parents seem to like kick ass. Like they are smart people. Can I
They
call your
are
mom for like business advice?
anytime.
All right, good. All right. Sorry.
So yeah, that was really the infancy of our e-commerce background, and that led to a few other startups, and that that led to my experience here. This is something I'd like to share with other startups now.
So what did you learn from your parents and how did you implement that at Plan Writers?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, my skills I developed is being able to do digital marketing, right? In an era
Mhm.
where digital marketing was like first invented, right? Like we started learning how to do PPC, which means pay per click with Google manual ads, building shopping comparison sites, building shopping, like learning how to implement cookies, tracking, like where orders coming from, building affiliate marketing programs, and basically all these different channels in our business that like had a life of its own to start like many new ventures. So
Mhm.
started implementing the first SaaS solutions, started learning how to use analytics, being understand exactly customer behavior, how to calculate cost of acquisition, customer lifetime value,
Mhm.
all these metrics that became the cornerstone for many tech businesses because these are the KPIs that startups became essential for startups. So I built those skills, I pioneered those skills, and I know what it's like to pioneer a new industry and to kind of think creatively. So definitely was able to leverage a lot of those skills that we learned.
It sounds like you're a tech company that helps people write business plans.
Well, got some tech, right? A lot of a lot of creative digital marketing solutions that come hand to hand. So yeah, tech-enabled services is really what drives a
Yeah,
lot of entrepreneurship and,
sure.
a big part of the market. So
Yeah.
I have a little bit of that background for sure.
So when you take on a new client and they hire you to write a plan or a grant or a pitch deck, what's the process like? Do they need to, kind of be prepared, or do they just show up and be like, help me figure this out? What do you take people through? How does that look?
Yeah, our process is is fairly straightforward, but at the same time, there's a lot behind the scenes. So
Mhm,
first thing we want to do is just discovery. That means let's understand the customer's elevator pitch, understand what they know, understand what they don't know.
mhm,
It's not rocket science, but we do some interviews, we do some document gathering, they fill out a questionnaire. And then the main work comes from just various interviews that we prepare. So we have a methodology. What we do is we pretend to be an investor. We try to anticipate all the questions that some
mhm.
sophisticated financier would want to know about a new venture. We ask those questions and we just make sure we have good answers to all those questions. We let that organically flow into a comprehensive business plan that nobody's going to read, but that will actually be the backbone of what we use to prepare a pitch deck, which is going to be the investor facing document. And what we try to do is make sure that the client is able to pitch that, the transfer of information from our consults basically come from our collaboration to being internalized with our clients, and they can deliver a good pitch. So they have a beautiful presentation that they can also own, right? It's not
So you
just,
you coach them on the actual pitch as well?
we do on certain projects, we help them understand exactly what it is that they're pitching. So at the end of the day, they can have those conversations.
So how many employees do you guys have?
We have 10 right now.
So what's the structure like? Do you have like an operations person and someone that works at the client level, and like how many people can work on these plans at one time? What does that look like?
Yeah, great. So the way our operations look like is we have some central intelligence, like an operations person. We make all our clients fill out questionnaires at the beginning because who we assign to the project is very critical, right? Like I
Mhm,
have people on my team with different suites, strong suites, and
mhm,
we want to assign the project to the right person. So we assign the project to the right person. That person is a project manager. Project manager is the brains in our operation. They know how to lead the conversation. They know how to coach the clients. They know how to consult the clients. And then under the project manager, we have writers, market analysts, financial modelers, and they can be able to assign the projects to a writer to do a lot of the content and drafting. And they're able to prepare the specifications for a financial model.
mhm.
Over what they do is they oversee the project, the product, work product. They can write a better business plan than anyone, but I don't want them to have to actually do that type of work. I want them to focus on the brains behind the operation.
Mhm.
And then they deliver a product to an editor, make sure everything looks good grammatically. Drafts get sent to the clients. We leave a 30-day window open for the clients so they can put their input, make iterations, make sure they have work product that they love. And
Mhm.
then last but not least, when we got a final draft, it goes to our designer. Our designer wants to make this look like a magazine because these days investors
Sure.
do not read,
Yeah.
right? Pretty
Yeah.
pictures say everything.
Yeah. It's so interesting. You help people write business plans with really, really good content and thought, but the packaging is equally important, right?
Yeah, I would dare say it's almost more important these days, right? I
Hmm.
mean, at the end of the day, a business plan and pitch deck gets you an opportunity to build a relationship with the investor. It's those side conversations,
Yeah.
the follow on that really makes a difference between
Hmm.
investment and not. So we just adapt to that market need.
So this is a show also about money. So let's talk a little bit about money. What
Let's
do you
talk money.
think your smartest investment in any of your businesses was, and why?
So smartest investment in any of my businesses.
Like PC, virtual, any of the internet retailers, plan writers, whatever. Like, I want my audience to learn about something that you did that like you probably like it's a brag, but it's okay. You don't have to go deep, but just the concept of it, how it worked and what happened.
Well, I'll tell you, what I'm doing now is probably the most financially rewarding. And I'll tell you, like some of the opportunities we see are just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And, we basically are in a position to take equity in certain projects on, from all sorts of opportunities. So
Mm-hmm.
I do feel that, what we're going to do, taking equity, a little bit of equity across a lot of different projects is going to basically be the game changer for me in my life.
Wow. So it's like a what do they call those things? Incubator private equity shops or something like that that does plan running. It's
Yeah.
interesting,
Well,
right?
it would behoove a lot of my clients if they can't afford our fees, right, to take a little bit of equity and
Yeah.
just we'll take some skin in the game, and it becomes a win-win for everybody.
So are you making financial investments or is it more like, look, I'll spend another 10 hours with you, but I need 12% of your business?
Yeah, it's more of the sweat equity.
Mm-hmm. So let's say you're looking out like a few years and you're coming back to today. What do you think has to have happened for plan writers to be like, oh my God, we killed it?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, we always have to improve. So number one, definitely streamlining our operations, which means making sure we've got great talent. Great
Mm-hmm.
talent leads to better and better results. Better and better results
Mm-hmm.
lets me as an operator look at some business intelligence and opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to really focus going upstream with some of our clients and helping them beyond the plan.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to lead to some of the bigger and bigger opportunities
Mm-hmm.
in my business model.
I'm going to come back to business model. I think we've talked about this in the past, but I let me just close the loop on this. Have you sold any of the investments that you've made in any of these, or have you monetized any of them yet?
No, I have not. These got 5 to 7 year cycles. So
Yeah. Okay. Got it. And so your clients come to you and they hire you to write this deck, and then they pay you, and then that's it. So what are you trying to do to either keep them longer, get some continuity of revenue, recurring revenue? Is it the private equity, the smaller or the investments that you're making, or are you still in the game of, look, there's so much more business that we can do by just bringing in more on the front end?
yeah, right now we're trying to focus on our front end. I do want to eventually, once I tap out of that,
Yeah,
start working going
yeah,
upstream. So
got it.
personally and selfishly in our business, being able to have a big funnel, letting us observe
Hmm.
a lot of
Hmm.
opportunities is going to help us cherry pick down the line and be selective on opportunities we want to go deep on. I mean, we only need 1 or 2 awesome ventures a year that we
Yeah,
can take equity
yeah,
in and
yeah.
go deep.
That's awesome. One of the biggest challenges I see with entrepreneurs is the connection between making investments and seeing the cash flow from those investments come back to them. So let's go through your 10 employees, because I see this so much with my clients, and I know people listening, they're thinking about this, where they have 4 employees and they need to hire another 1 or 2, or they're at 5 and they need to get to 7, or they're at 10 and they need to get to 15. One of the biggest challenges that they have is their staff, their org chart, the managing of it, the compensation structure, and all of that. They feel like they got into business to make apple pies, but the next thing they know, they're now in business managing people and they're not making their apple pies. So can you talk a little bit about your experience on hiring, paying people, investing in them, having it be a drag on your cash, trusting in that process, and managing it along the way?
Yeah, sure. Hey, in full disclosure, I don't want to act like I'm more than I am. I've got a lot to work on personally. I
We're
can
all in
tell
the
you,
trenches.
so it
We're all in
is.
the trenches. So it's all good.
I could tell you, I'm personally a horrible manager.
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first thing make sure you have someone that complements you if you hire someone, a really good operational person that you trust. If you're gonna do that, I'd say be real with your skills. I'd say interviewing is probably the most important thing you could do.
Mhm.
Talent is everything in any startup business. The wrong hire will cost you so much more,
Yeah.
right? Than not hiring at all. So be very slow to hire, be very quick to fire. And all I gotta say is if you hire right, you it'll make you more money than you can ever imagine. It's all about who.
Yeah. Who, not how. Have you heard of that
Exactly.
book?
I have
It's
the
amazing. Yeah, I've read it. Um, so what's your process in hiring people? How do you do it?
personally,
Or if
I
there's someone that does it for you in your company?
I'm not at that point yet, Justin, but what I personally do is I look for people that are really hungry, that are very passionate, that I know when
Hmm.
times get difficult, right? It's not just about going to be necessarily compensation. They've got some inner drive that's going to push them the extra mile, right? So it's not always easy to see. I just know that you can train skills, but you cannot change people with bad attitude. So
Yeah, for sure.
most of most important thing is good communication, positive energy,
Yeah.
good attitudes, and
Hmm.
motivation to grow. Uh,
I love that. I love that. I want to end with just having everyone learn a little bit about what you're doing with your morning routine. So what's happening? Like, you waking up, like, what's your story? Like, are you doing coffee? You're checking emails, you're reading, you're journaling, you're stretching, you're grilling steaks at 7 in the morning. Like, what's happening?
so this is what I love to do. I don't get up terribly early. I wish I did, but I'm up 7:30. I I help my wife prepare kids' lunch, spend some quality time with my kids, get them packed, get them dressed. 8:30, I'm caffeinated. I'm I'm lucky enough to be somewhat close to work. I have a WeWork office in Century City, and I live in
Hmm.
Beverly Hills.
Hmm.
I like to take a 45-minute walk at 8:30 to my
Wow.
house, and it's my favorite time of the day. I put my earbuds in. I'll make a few calls with my key team. Brief, they'll brief me in the day. We'll do what we have to do. We'll maybe do a sales call in the morning. I like to get a cup of coffee on Beverly Drive on the way to work. And I got to tell you, it's like my favorite part of the day. I come in, I burn some calories. I've done my intermittent fast. When I have my lunch, I got the calories to spare if I want to eat something nice, and if I want to go light on that, I can have a great dinner. So that's what I do.
So the walk that you're doing for 45 minutes, is that you're rolling calls and doing stuff, or is that more quiet time? I didn't connect that.
It's a little both.
Yeah.
I'll start half my walk just quiet time, and
Okay.
then I'll put my earbuds in and I'll just make some calls with my staff, see what's going on in the day, and maybe have a sales call. But it's quite enjoyable, like walking and nice little like suburban residences down to Century City is really peaceful.
Nice. Nice. Well, it's been so nice to have you on. We could have gone deeper on everything, but I like to
Sure.
keep these relatively short because then people tend to check out. Um, my last question is like, let's say you're writing a letter to yourself 15 years ago when you got into business, and here you are today. What is the one thing that you would tell yourself to be aware of, to do, to think about as you grew all of these businesses and became an entrepreneur?
I'd have to tell myself sometimes to believe, you need to see, and you need to envision yourself in a place of success. I think for a lot of people, if they can't visualize and see what it's like to be successful, it just becomes unrelatable and you don't know how to build a motivation.
Hmm.
So, I definitely questioned myself when I was younger, and I was maybe afraid to ask for real money, and I didn't know what it was like to, you know, be able to grow an operation. And I just say like, hey, look, if you believe in, like, really, people who are successful are people that really believe in themselves and have that confidence. They're just no different than other
Mhm.
people. I say intelligence is a very small factor in success. I know people way smarter than me that aren't in my position. And hey,
Yeah.
I'm sure vice versa. Like, I'm sure there's people way less smart than me that are way more successful than I am too. Just stay humble and be
Yeah.
confident, and that drive is
Awesome.
what takes you to the next level.
Believing is so important. Well, thank you for coming on. Where can we send people to learn more about Plan Writers?
Sure, you can visit my website, www.planwriters.net. You can call a number on that website, ask for me. Happy to give people free consults and free advice on, how we can help grow your business.
Matt, you're the man. Thanks for coming on. Great to have
Take
you.
care, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.